Hello, it's me, Sarah. I have just had a brilliant chat with Kemp from ECCHO Live, this is a new rebranding for the Touring Career Workshop. So it's now called ECCHO Live. We go into the rebranding. We go into the mental health side of things. We go into the all access platforms that ECCHO Live provide at festivals. We talk about so many incredible things. Really, mental health is a huge, huge, huge topic on my mind. So it was great to express and really, talk to Cara, everything that she's doing, her touring career, how it started, and obviously where she is now. So thank you very much, Cara. And I hope everybody enjoys this episode. And I'm also extremely lucky to have the support of Lightswitch, who sponsor Leading Ladies. I remember when Lightswitch approached Marcel and said, we really want to be part of this journey. And they had the belief in me to be able to talk to ladies. I started with ladies that I knew, but now slowly, I'm sort of like reaching out to ladies in the industry that maybe we've had email communications, maybe I don't know them at all. Last week I had Amber Williams on the show. We didn't know each other. She came highly recommended by David Davidian. Today's guest, Cara, I've been emailing back and forth for about a year now. We've finally got to meet each other. But it's just so nice to have the support from Lightswitch to say, come on, this is great. We love what you're doing and we want to be part of it. And, really sharing all these amazing foundations. This one now, ECCHO Live. I always like to post lots of things regarding behind the scenes foundation. So really, it's all about giving back. And it's also lovely to receive the support as well. So if you'd like to take a moment and watch Lightswitch's video, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Lightswitch is a collective of award-winning lighting, media, and visual designers committed to changing how people experience the world. For more than 30 years, we have been practicing pragmatic design. At Lightswitch, we believe it's our responsibility to keep our clients' creative, logistical, and financial objectives in balance. Lightswitch's range of expertise is extensive, from working one-on-one with clients and artists to multidisciplinary teams collaborating on all visual aspects of temporary and permanent projects. Lightswitch creates unforgettable moments and powerful experiences. We celebrate our team, clients, and all of our industry's diverse and talented people. As a part of our commitment to inclusion in all aspects of entertainment and experience design, Lightswitch is proud to sponsor Leading Ladies.
La 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 la, ladies, the ladies, la la la. Now here's the Leading Ladies by Geezers of Gear. On tour, maybe she got some stories to share. Now here's the Leading Ladies by the Geezers of Gear. Rock star ladies with some stories to share, because la 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 ladies, the ladies, la la ha.
Hello and welcome to another Leading Ladies podcast with me, Sarah Burney. Now, this next lady I have been working closely with over the last year or so, and she is the General Manager for what was formerly known as the Touring Career Workshop, which is a fantastic charity organisation for the industry, for the people in the industry, and they're just going through a rebranding at the moment. So it's called ECCHO Live now. So that's ECCHO Live. And basically, I wanted to get Cara on to tell us all about ECCHO Live, introducing the new the new rebrand. It's taken a few weeks now, but I believe everything's all up and running. And I want to hear from Cara. So basically, Cara Kemp is a passionate leader dedicated to supporting live events professionals. As General Manager of ECCHO Live, she champions mental health, career growth, and industry-wide education. With a background in business, performing arts, and over a decade as a Dega Catering crew chief, she's worked alongside music legends like Bob Dylan and Keith Urban. Cara's Don't Shrink, Bloom philosophy drives her mission to empower others through connection and education. She's spearheading the ECCHO Live rebrand and expanding vital programs like All Access to provide resources for touring professionals. A firm believer in balance, she promotes creative focus tools, mental health days, such as No Pants Days, which I can't wait to hear about that, and taking small international steps towards progress. I just can't wait for this one. Really, I can't. So please welcome Cara Kemp to the Leading Ladies podcast. Hello, Cara, and welcome to Leading Ladies.
Hi, thank you.
Well, I'm absolutely thrilled you wanted to do this. For those listening, Cara is basically the general manager for ECCHO Live. Now, to some of you, you may not be familiar with ECCHO Live at the moment because they're going through a rebrand. So literally a couple of weeks, it was the Touring Career Workshop.
Yeah.
And I just, as soon as I saw that all logos were changing, I was like, message Cara, and I was like, please, come on, let's tell everybody about it. Tell everybody about what you do. And of course, I want to know all about you as well, and, you know, how you got into the industry, being a lady, and all things like that. So my first thing is, where are you? You look like you're at home.
I am. I'm at home. I'm in right outside of Nashville in Middle Tennessee. I do get to work from my home base most of the time. A lot of us work so remotely. So I support from Middle Tennessee.
That's incredible. I'm also a remote worker, and there's something very, well, it's amazing. I love the remote work. I do miss touring. I've said that many times. I do miss the touring side of things, but, you know, seeing everything in the background, and I've just seen your dog as well, you know, just all these things that make, you know, working from home so I don't know, enjoyable, you know, and being able to give back as well, which is obviously, you know, what you do. So please, for those people out there, what was Touring Career Workshop, now ECCHO Live?
Sure.
Please tell me all about it.
Yeah, I'm honored to. So Touring Career Workshop was founded in 2011 by Chris Lyle and Eric Parker, both longtime industry workers. Chris is a lighting designer, tour manager, production manager. You know, everyone wears so many hats. And it started out as just a one event flagship workshop that could be a human resource hub. And they developed it because they saw a need in the industry. And as people that are working in the backbone of the touring business, they wanted to support people that, I mean, you don't realize that when you go see a show, there are like 30 people supporting every one person that's out there that most of the general public see. And it's a hard grind, and a lot of them are gig workers, and you just don't have the support as if you were in a major corporation and had an HR department and insurance and all of those pieces. So when they started it out, they were addressing a need, and it was vital, and it grew, and it kept growing. And a few years in, they developed a program called All Access, which was providing free counseling to people that are working full-time in the industry. And as it grew and it was making an impact just over these last 13 years, they discovered that it really needed to be more inclusive, more programming allowed for year-round. It wasn't just the flagship event. and they wanted to embrace more of the people, not just touring industry, but also anyone who was working in the live events sector. So over the last year, which is really when I got introduced with ECCHO Live, over the last year, they decided, what are the branches that we're really addressing with this nonprofit? And the 5 pillars were education, community, connection, health, and opportunity. So they rebranded, this an acronym for ECCHO, ECCHO Live, to really embrace more of the industry, to be able to have our services and our programs that reach out to more people.
And so at the moment, is it sort of more online workshops that you're doing, or is it like we'll talk about all the all access, which is obviously like live, at a festival, at a gig. So from going from one event a year, now it has grown so much. What do you provide? Is it mainly online services for industry people?
We are still trying to embrace the live. So we have monthly networking, which we call day off events. We also have networking nights where we can bring people from all sectors of live events. When we have these networking nights and day offs, we may have people, local vendors who have warehouses here in Nashville that are showing up to meet with students from Belmont, or very new artists to the industry, people that are juggling hats of merchandise to they're breaking in as a tour manager with smaller, club venues, want to meet people who are working in arenas and stadium shows. So we do monthly networking and connection. We do, this year, we're excited to see if we can do some more, like a library of webinars that are available to students and mentor a little bit more in depth that way. We are looking to have mentorships in financial planning to be able to offer gig workers who are really trying to figure out their budget, and especially if you're, it's feast or famine sometimes. And that would be something that would be virtual. So it's a mix of both in person as well as online platforms.
So when you have the live events, the monthly events, where are they based? Where like whose venue? In which locations?
It's so we have done everything from Top Golf to tonight. We actually have a day off at Mainlight Studios.
Yes, I heard that. I read that on the socials. So that sadly everyone's going to miss that because it's where this is recorded 2 weeks ago.
Right.
But I'll update everybody with how that went. So the event's actually at Mainlight tonight.
At Mainlight. Next for March, we're going to meet at Blackbird Studio and give people an opportunity to to tour the recording studio, and then be able to ask questions and mentor and meet with each other. We have done kayaking, in the middle of summer when it's blistery hot. It's just something that's, fun, and kayaking together. We've talked about goat yoga. So it has all extremes.
Oh my God, I've heard of yoga, but not goat yoga.
So it's in true live event, roadie form. We try not to take ourselves too seriously. A lot of really great networking happens when you let the guard down and just get to connect with one another, right? And have some fun. But we do recognize that anytime we can be in a room together, that's really where.
So how do you find getting everybody together, especially because, the industry where, it's worldwide, I'm in Europe, you're America, you've got people out touring all the way around the world. And so the turnout for a monthly event, is it more students, or is it, is it someone that maybe they're home in your area and they're like, we want to drop in and say hi, let's be part of it. Mm-hmm. That must be a struggle, getting people to actually be there.
For sure, it is. And the more consistent it is, which we try to have this consistency to continue the momentum so that people know
Yeah.
what to expect. But it's challenging, and it is a day off for a lot of people if they are touring. They've been out weekend warriors and they're tired. So it's like, well, but we do find that there may be someone who's on tour who has come through Nashville for a show that don't normally live here, and we do get to see and connect with people that this is not their home base. But we do have a lot of students because there's a lot of universities and, of course, younger people breaking into this industry. I feel like we have about half and half, which is the fun part of the mentorship opportunity, is we see about half of the people that show up are students or new to the industry, and the other half really are veterans that could be vendors that, are working in a warehouse studio, or they have just come off the road for the weekend and they show up. So yeah, it is a struggle.
That for me, I mean, even trying organizing podcasts, try with, whoever. I mean, we actually had Chris on, it was last year, but we had Chris on. And for me, trying to organize everybody, I mean, the amount of emails I receive, oh, no, I'm on tour right now. And, and I know when you're on tour, really your mind, you're on that tour.
Yeah.
Last year, I was asked to go on, just help out on Blink 182. It was for a week. It was 4 shows. And I was like, yeah. I asked myself and I said, can I go? I said, it'd be a great opportunity. I could get loads of people for the podcast and this and that. And I went with big dreams. I mean, big dreams. I had one lady. I did have one lady come on. But really, people's minds, they're not on about a podcast, they're not, and that the whole, everyone's tired, when they get a day off, you generally don't see anyone. They're in the hotel room, we're eating rubbish because we haven't got kitchen facilities to cook. So if a tour is coming through and you've got a seminar going on, then fantastic, because you know what? Let's hope that those people are going to come in and, like you said, give the advice and mentor the young people coming in. Because really, I feel that for all of us, it just happened how we ended up in the industry. It's just, circumstances, everything, all the rest of it. We're now sort of chatting with each other. We've had email communications for the last year, but never seen face to face. It's a very tough world to get into. And I worry that, younger people don't know exactly what they're going into. And now there's so much pressure. I mean, I don't know if there was this much pressure, when we started in the industry. How do you feel? Do you think there's more pressure now, or how do you feel when you first joined?
I'm mirroring you. I stumbled into the industry, into touring, and said yes when I didn't exactly know what I was saying yes to. So I didn't feel the same immense pressure when I show up and I'm talking to these students and they have a lot of questions for me about how I got into the industry, and you can really feel like they are so smart with their questions and so focused on their questions. And I do believe it is a harder industry. And when it really does seem to come down to, are you in the right place to say yes at the right time? Have you had a conversation with someone who then goes, oh, this person would be perfect on this tour? Or I remember they said that they had just done recording. And it's why I think that these day offs are really a special platform for all people across the industry to see one another, because it's very collaborative, and getting the opportunity to have a conversation with someone and be foremost in their thoughts can really be that first kind of door open into the industry. But yeah.
We actually had an event this year at LDI. It was called Dining with Dinosaurs. and we had I know, Craig, I love the name of it, but we had basically all the legends, basically that started our industry. And we also had students in the room at the same time. And I mean, the conversations were just fantastic because they had so many questions to ask. Then we had Roy Bickle in there, Bob Gordon. We had all these amazing legends in this room. And we had more people come in that wasn't even part of, let's say, the panel. And it was really something that, let's say, not is missing, but there's a huge opportunity for these legends, for people in the industry to give their expertise, their knowledge. And that's something that's what I love about what you guys do, especially with the students, the students coming in. But as far as like the mental health side of things, obviously, we were talking. So let's go back a bit. I mean, can you share your journey? So your journey, I believe you started in performing arts. That was where you actually sort of originated from, and then like moving into the business side of into the live events. So how did your journey grow, basically?
Sure. Yes. So I graduated with an arts degree in theater and performance, and as often is the case with an arts degree, and you're young and starting out, there's food service that goes hand in hand with it. And I just happened to be working in this coffee shop in the 90s. And the lady who had started it's called Dega Catering, and very specifically, it is a tour catering setup. And she had just started 2 years in, and basically said, "You're good with people, right? And you like to do food and things." And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Would you want to come out on the road this summer?" And I was like, "Sure." I was 23. Let's do it. Let's see what it's all about. I had absolutely no idea what I was getting into. And it was really stressful. We did a great job, but I lost 25 pounds in 2.5 weeks because I was stressed and I was not sleeping. And I was one of, say, 2 women on the road. So like just even the culture and the conversations that you're used to having, everything switched. And it's like 18 hours on my feet all day, 4 or 5 days in a row. And I enjoyed it, but it was a switch, and it physically showed on my body. And I continued to do it for 13 years, so I didn't hate it.
Wow.
And eventually it grew into something that was more than just summer. It was a full-time job for me. But I said yes in a moment, and just kind of followed it and learned a lot. I was the crew chief out there for Dega Catering. So there was a lot of responsibility and care for my crew in ways of not just turning out and doing what we were hired for, but really, I had people that had mental breakdowns because they also didn't know what to expect, and or they were stressed out. And to me, when I've come back into this industry with ECCHO Live, I've been so proud to see the evolution. Like, no one was talking about mental health or going to get a massage on your day off. I saw things out, but it wasn't like you didn't talk about it. So yeah, it's been really lovely to see the evolution of the conversations that are being had. And even at the fall workshop this past November, our keynote was Marty Hum.
Oh,
Marty
I love
Hum
him.
Right? He's just a legend. I mean, Barbara Streisand,
Really.
Beyonce, Shakira, and he led with the importance of, he brings counselors out on the road, and the importance of mental health being accessible. And it really,
I have been talking to so many ladies on this and outside, and really, if it's something, I know things are tightening down, the budgets are tightening, but please, big tour company, not company, like tour productions, bring on a counselor, bring on someone that the tour can go to, because you're out on the road for such a long time. There are always little bits of problems with a co-worker, with someone in another camp, from video, from whatever whatever side you're working in. And I also started in catering, so I know exactly where you're coming from, in the sense that I always used to say, if anyone said, "What do you do?" I'd say, "I'm mum." like really, I'm mum, because I would see somebody, or even if I learned very quickly, if, say, people can be rude, they've got not a lot of time, they can be rude. And at first, I also was like, well, I don't like him, or I don't, because of their attitude. Then, so I was like, hang on a minute, let's just step back. Why? And I'm a big one of finding out why. So I would go, I'd approach and I'd say, is everything okay? And then before you know it, it would be full. I like to think I'm a good listener. I also like talking, but I'm a good listener. And like, before you know it, it's all come out that there's they've got a problem back home. They've got this, they've got that. And before you know it, whoever, whether it wasn't to me, they were horrible, to one of the other girls, one of the other boys, they've come around and said, I'm sorry about that. Now, we do understand our emotions. I think we're getting very good at understanding our emotions now, but it's still, you don't necessarily talk about it too much. Or if you talk about it to the wrong person, it can get out, that whatever it was, it can get out, a secret or something. Right. So having a counselor where you can go and talk and just let everything out, they're not judging you. You can say what you need to say. Really, I think Marty's amazing for bringing that on, and more touring production to do it. One of my biggest things was, I think one of the last tours I did, they had a tattoo artist. Seriously, don't go getting a tattoo artist. I mean, I haven't got any tattoos and I'm picturing needles. Right. But I'm like, bring a counselor on board. You mentioned about having like massages. Like, I know some tours now bring on a masseuse. Like, yeah, okay, that's also amazing, because, for every reason, our body is pushed, not just mentally, it's physically pushed. And like you said, and now the touring dates and the days, that it's not just a not that it was never a holiday, but there was a lot more time in between. You could go and see the city, you could go and explore a little bit. Now it's like back to back to back to back, and that's not just for the crew, that's for the artists. Yeah. How they do it, yeah, it is performing. I know I'm a very sensitive and I'm an emotional person. If I use too much energy one day, I know the next day I'm a little bit lower. Mm-hmm. Unless there's like a bigger, like if I'm on tour, I generally I keep on going. Like, my mind says you got to keep on going. As soon as that tour finishes, that's the crash. Yeah, for sure. It is. I always referred to it as like life in the bubble. And then the time once the bubble had burst was my time, in between tours or being off the road. And I was young and silly, but I referred to them, for every week that I was on the road, I instilled one no pants day. And it started with my mother. Like, I'd get home and my mom was so excited to see me, and she'd be like, well, let's go do things. And I was like, Mom, I was out for 6 weeks. I got 6 whole no pants days. So essentially, you can come see me, but if it requires me putting on pants, I'm not going to be doing it, because I had to recharge, like, and I love it. I consider myself an extrovert, but when you are expending, like you were saying, so much energy is going out, you have to have some time to yourself to recharge and to not think on such a high level. I mean,
even if you are in a very specific, I'm a lighting designer or I'm the audio engineer, you still have a bunch of different plates that are ancillary around those things that are coming at you, and you're trying to process all of that information at a really fast speed on those gig days. So you have to get outside of the bubble.
But again, I think that we are talking more about it. Like maybe, say 10 years ago. I mean, as I was saying to you before, I started in Formula One and sort of came into the music industry probably like 10 years ago. I've only done a few tours, but even coming from, I call it, that's a man's world from Formula One, coming into this industry, again, it's a man's world. Maybe at the beginning, I wouldn't talk about my feelings, or like, especially I would come back to Crete, which is where I live. Nobody would see me, which I didn't call it no pants days, but literally if I was on the road for 3 months, I would come back. Nobody would see me for a week. Nobody. It would be a week at home. And I wouldn't know how to adjust my lifestyle of being on the road when at any given point I had somebody near me. There was in the hotel room, I knew that someone was above, next door, below. I could walk into reception. I would see someone. I'd walk down a street. There's a possibility of seeing someone. To coming home to literally an empty house in a village that's so quiet.
Yeah.
And then you go down to see your friends. And they're like, oh, you've just been on tour with them. You went here, you went there. And then I say, well, no, I was on a tour bus. I saw a hotel for the night. I was then in, it was stadium, so it was, and they look at me, they're like, yeah, but you went here, you went here, you went here. And in the end, you kind of have to say, yeah, I went there. It was brilliant. So you're lying to yourself and you're lying to them because they don't, that it's not their fault. They don't understand. So I found myself being like really two different people.
Yeah.
And then not oversharing, but being like, oh, yeah. I went here in America. I traveled here. I did this. I did that. But actually, I didn't. I saw underground car parking and, as caterers, like a dust ball of like, how am I going to turn this restaurant into something 5-star? I've no idea. And then pack it all away in 3-4 days.
Yeah.
It's that side of things, but talking about it now, like I said, when I went on, it was only last year. Now I can tell my friends, they're like, oh, but you've got like 4 gigs, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, guys, I've told you before, I see nothing.
Yeah. Well, and now you have a lot of, you can't tell those, you can't disclose any of your information either, which was an evolution from when I first started to now. It's like, I can't remember what I'm supposed to tell or what I can't.
I know, seriously. What, I want to do a photo. Am I allowed to do a photo? Can I do this? Can I do that? No, I can't do that anymore. But I think, again, that's kind of I think that's a good thing, not sharing too much on the socials.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that social media for me. Okay. I'm on social media for work, obviously, and for that quite a bit, but I still try and distance myself from a lot, because you also get these comments from people and you're like, dude, I'm just one, doing my job. Right. 2, I'm trying to do the best I can to just the best I can. And then you get some nasty comment that really you're like, what was that? What was that for?
Right. Yeah. And that is a piece that when I was starting out and really trying to get my bearings, those things were not accessible to me. So that was a part that I didn't have to juggle. And I think that is an extra layer coming into touring local, these gigs of, you want to be authentic in sharing that this is a part of your life and part of your story, but you also want to comply with the rules, and you also don't necessarily want to open yourself up to criticism. I mean, that's a real juggle of pressure of how do I legitimately show who I am, but also safeguard myself and not then spend a lot of time having to negotiate some of the trolling or nasty comments or pieces that it's a lot. It's a lot.
Sometimes I think I kind of want to reach out to some of these people and just go, "Are you okay?"
Right.
Because again, the people that are doing it, I think they need someone to talk to, because there's so much anger in some of these people, and you're just like, life shouldn't be about the anger, you know.
I guess we should say that if they are working in the live events industry on
Come
a
to
full-time
you.
basis, we can help with that. Really
Exactly.
connect you with someone who you could speak with and maybe work out some pieces of that.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, you mentioned, like, obviously you're working with Chris. Had you worked with him before? Like, what basically, yeah, how did you get connected to basically become like the general manager for Echo Life? Like, how did your paths cross?
Sure. We have determined that we probably had a lot of near misses in the tours that we did. The last half of my career, because I did grow up outside of Nashville, I moved back from Los Angeles because the catering company was like, "We're getting into country music," and so I moved back to be able to do the weekend warrior thing, which I had never heard of in the rock and roll side of touring. And so Chris and I determined that we had a lot of tours that we worked on, but not at the same time. But we did tour with a lot of the same people. In last year, they really had a lot of expansion with the All Access on Site program, and just growing with their programming year round. And they realized, because Chris, I mean, he is full-time gigging it. I don't think he has a day off until like August. He's been working since, before Christmas. And he needed some support. And there was Chuck Hull, who was my tour manager on the Keith Urban tour. He was my last tour, and I had the great honor to work with Chuck Hull. And he sat on the board for Echo Live. And there were a couple of other board members who I had also toured with or known from the touring world. And so when they were looking for someone who understood what this industry was like, but I was also working with my own coaching business. So I have this service heart for coaching and wellness, and had also been a general manager for other businesses. They were like, maybe
You're the
Kara
perfect
would
match.
be, maybe she would be a good fit. And so they put me through my paces. I had to, interview and do all of those steps, but I wasn't looking for it, but again, it was a moment of saying yes to, if someone has thought enough of me to say, "This reminded me of you, would you be interested?" Then I think that it's important for you to at least say yes to the opportunity and see what the other person has in mind, and if it aligns with what you are having in mind and what your passion and purpose feels like in life. And it was really, after speaking with Chris and interviewing with a few of the board members, it was an easy Yahoo yes for me, because
That's awesome.
it highlighted a piece of what I wish I had seen when I was first starting out in the industry. I would have totally benefited from some free counseling. I mean, I was paying for it on my own. But the conversations and the opportunity to connect people with tools, it was an easy yes.
So, because I was obviously, you sent me some information, but you've also, which makes you a perfect fit. You give so much, you give so much back, but you have got your Kemp coaching, so that really made you like a perfect fit for what Chris and the board were trying to do and trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like combine at any point this, like, your coaching? Are you like, are you like involved live? Like that, I was going to ask you, like, do you attend these live things once a month? And are you a coach there as well? Like,
Or I try not to show up too much with my coaching hat for my business, but I do attend these live events. I was really my big thing last year was helping with the workshop itself, because I have also done a lot of nonprofit events and things like that. The production side of it is my wheelhouse. So I do show up for these events, and I do end up coaching people. Yeah, like I can't put that hat down, of course. And I really am invested in seeing people grow and stretch, and encouraging them when they're a little bit uneasy to like really just be brave in that moment and just step into it. So I do. I'm there. I'll be there at the day off tonight, and I'm typically at all, as many of them as I can be. I have, as we have grown with the program of All Access on Site, I have been able to go to a few of the local shows and help out in those moments when they need someone on site. So I do get to stretch my coaching hat some.
And the All Access, I mean, last year it was quite some of the festivals, if I believe. That's where you sort of really tuned in. You had your area. And yeah, basically All Access Pass, you could go in and you just made everyone feel welcome to basically just relax there. And you had people to talk to, I'm presuming, as well.
We do, yes. So Casey Kleckler, who is also a coach and a counselor, she really is, she is the queen of All Access on Site. And she coordinates having a private space for confidentiality. And you can sign up for an appointment on site to be able to speak to someone. And it's really varied. Lollapalooza, Boston Calling, Bonnaroo, Austin City Limits, the CMA Fest, CMA Awards. So, all of these places where it is super high intensity, there's so much going on. And I've been so honored to be able to just kind of step in on a few of those days. And you get to see it happen in real time. Someone who comes and they're like, I'm having a challenge with a coworker right now, and I don't know what to do, and I just need someone to talk with. And I mean, man, it's just so fast how the relief of just being able to say it to someone and have a sounding board, and then they go back and they're like, okay, thanks. And then maybe an hour or two later, someone else shows up that was like, I think I need to talk to you. I was talking to my buddy over there, and they, and it's a beautiful domino effect in a positive domino effect, right? So yeah,
as soon as one person goes, and in a way, you're going to take away the stigma of, oh, I'm going to go talk to someone. It many years before, that's how it was. You're going to see a counselor or you're doing this. Now, again, people are more open to saying, yeah, I've got this great counselor and I do this, whether it be on, so I know so many people now that do it online, but to have it on site. Now, I'm not familiar with a lot of the festivals there, but if it's anything to go by, the ones in the UK, people are there. I mean, take, for example, Glastonbury. People are there setting up 3 months before for the main event. This is when you need that all access for people to go. When you're there for 3 months and you're still living in a shitty tent and it's been rainy and you've got wet clothes and, sadly, it's not sadly anything sad about it, but, you're drinking, you're partying as well, because that's always going to happen. Yeah. The worst thing that can do then is the next day you're feeling like poor, a bit groggy, then you bicker with somebody else, and then this happens and this happens. But having all access at, from the start, are you at the start the whole way through?
Yes. So now that we have a few, there are a few festivals that are brand new festivals to us, but a lot of these are ones that we're returning to. And they bring us into the production meeting right at the start. The department heads are aware of what we're doing and what it means, and that this is a resource for them. And then we have a booth, like a space that's backstage, and a space that is confidential for the therapists. And they let us, put the QR codes out to sign up for your appointment, so it's easy. So yeah, we're a part of it. We're a part of the culture. And each year it grows on the ones that we return to, and we're on site again.
Really, it's brilliant. And I suppose as well, the great thing with festivals is, you'll have all these bands come in, you'll have all tour managers, production, and they'll see what you're doing. And hopefully, slowly, so everybody out there listening, if you're listening, bring on ECCHO Live, to your festivals, to whatever it may be. And, who's to say you might get bigger, really bigger and bigger. And you may be hiring people to go on tour, like Marty Holmes doing, to go on tour, because it really is, like we were saying, you've got a family back home, or maybe you don't have a family. Maybe you're traveling on the road, because it's hard to meet somebody when you're on the road. Maybe you have a tall wife or husband for that time, then you don't see them again ever. But they are your world right then. Whatever it may be, having, again, that person to talk to. Talking's great. Crying's great. I'm not ashamed to cry. I mean, my boss will tell you that. I cried with him, and I was like, I don't know where it's coming from, but it has to come out. It has to come out. And and I was literally like this, and he said, what have I said? I said, it's not you, it's just an emotion.
Right. Yes. And the quicker that you can process that emotion, and then the quicker you can get on with the logical, rational pieces that you need to make in a day. The timeout is important, even if it's 15 minutes of some corner that's quiet somewhere and some deep breathing. But not everybody has access to those tools on that first tour. You have so much of wanting to perform and wanting to belong and wanting to prove yourself.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Wanting to belong in the groups, whatever, because people do. They get together. You've got, it happens. There's a cliquey group. There's the cool group. And I was never in any of those. And sometimes it can be very sad, but you find the one person or the two or the three that you're comfortable with. And, also a lot of the times when I was touring, I would actually go off on my own and walk. So I would do a lot of walking. If we did have a day off, I would look on the map and I would just go, right, I'm going out here, go to the countryside, whatever it may be, I'm going for walking, because that cleared my mind all the time. But it's understanding I understand myself a lot more now. I like I said, I understand that I have high days, low days, never on a tour, because I always, like I said, I always keep it up. But that's tiring, keeping it up all the time there. So when you do have a day off, you can crash. And again, we've all done it. You just have a room day. I'm going to call it a pants day now. You have no pants day, and you're ordering like room service, which is overpriced, that you get annoyed about, and it's always just 9 times out of 10 it's not that good. You're watching, I believe, Netflix. I love it. Yeah, I hate the damn thing, but you've got Netflix and you binge watch a load of rubbish that you wouldn't normally, and that again is not good for your mental health. But maybe if there was a counselor on the tour and said, okay guys, I've just Googled, there's a beautiful walk today, we're going to go for a walk.
And anyone who wants to come, meet me in the lobby at 2:00.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I used to say that to a lot of people. I used to be like, okay, if you want to come, and I did. I had a couple of people that used to join me on these walks towards the end. Because I knew that we were on the same kind of level, that, we just wanted to enjoy the nature to recharge. And then the next day we'd go back and, would feel brilliant again. But I was going to ask you, like, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges like live event professionals face today, and how can they overcome them?
Well, if I am, uh, I've been listening a lot this past year, trying to really be aware of what are the most challenging pieces for the people that we're serving. And the connection piece for people, really being able to talk and meet and talk with someone who is in there, like to be able to have that kind of mentorship piece, because you always feel like you're having to promote yourself. You're these shameless self promoters, right? And people feel a little bit territorial. And so it's like, how do I talk to someone about advancing in this same spot, that like moving up to where they are, but also not wanting to step on toes, but really genuinely wanting to learn. So it seems like the mentorship piece of being able to find someone that they can really talk really honestly and openly with about, is a big piece for our industry. Mental health in so many different ways, is a big piece, from the coping mechanisms of, say, numbing or lashing out, versus other resources in different healthier ways to be able to deal with those challenges of just being fast paced in the industry and not feeling like you ever have enough time. And so that time management, organizational piece, being able to be an advocate for your own well-being. And I mean, something as small as, I know that I have to take a buffer. Like, I may not be able to get an entire day, but where do I find the time and allow myself to know that it's okay for me to take 30 minutes for a lunch instead of eating it over a trash can? Like, where do you find those micro moments? But to me, it seems like time management, financial planning, like the budget piece of, how do I may have 3 big gigs this year, but I have to stretch it out over 12 months, for how do I save? How do I find insurance? How do I utilize and plan for my year? And the networking community piece. Those seem to be the conversations that I hear the most.
Okay. I suppose the financial side of things, I mean, like if you're, let's say, good, I mean, I'm, I can be terrible, I've got some money and I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. I've saved all that. I've done that. I've done this. And then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, but I'm only here once. Oh, let's do it.
Right.
I've been terrible all my life, really, all my life. Do I regret it? No, because I went on some helicopter around the Grand Canyon or whatever it may have been. I did it and but then did I struggle after, and was I worried that I wasn't going to get another job after? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
we have a lot of those people that I see them show up at the day offs, and that conversation right there seems to always, I hear it in a lot of different conversations on these day off networking pieces of like, man, my last gig was here and things are getting tight and what am I going to do? Or, and it's a big piece of, I grew up in a family of teachers and, and influenced by a grandmother who lived through the Great Depression. So
okay.
Money management was always, and that was just, that was a gift, because I'd go out there and you get that per diem in your hand. You're like, blow it all. I don't care. I'm going to buy that pair of boots, or I don't know, have that crazy meal. And, but I had the influence of, you can occasionally do those things, but you also have to put this aside. So I feel for gig workers that are like, I don't have that kind of influence, because it's hard. And you're like, I work so hard. I want to play hard too. Come on.
I believe it's not just our industry. I believe, it's the world over now. So we do a lot of things. We work so much that we don't have the time. So I always use this as an example. So instead of sitting down and reading a book because we've got time, we don't read a book anymore. We watch a movie. But we don't even go to the movies anymore because we can download it on, on our computers or whatever. Everything we're doing is so fast, and we still, as a human, we need this fix. We need this fix of, I've worked so hard, I deserve that. And we do. We deserve that treat. But when the fine line of deserving a treat goes into, well, actually, I've just done a 3-month tour and I've got no money to show for it. That's where, the teaching comes into it, the education of finance, of guiding each person into, okay, let's look at COVID. I mean, that messed up so many people, myself included. There was no money. There was no money coming in. Okay, I was fortunate. I did have some savings, but it soon ran out because so I've learned the hard way. And trying to guide yourself into okay, save this. I'm still not saving. I am, but then something will happen.
Right.
Something will happen. I mean, I had some savings, and I mentioned earlier that, I look after lots of stray cats and dogs. Well, so far in the last 2 weeks, I've basically spent $500 on cats and stray dogs that that wasn't in my budget of savings.
Right.
It wasn't there, but I'm not going to not save them. So I'm going to spend it. And now I'm like, well, now my savings are down. And, if anything was to happen now, but I've got to realize that there's always something. There's always something that will happen that's unexpected. The unexpected tax bill that you calculated to the dollar. Oh my God, it's more. Right. Or whatever it may be, it's always more. And that also can be a huge drain. I mean, I'm lucky. I just have my husband and my animals. But if kids are involved, if mortgages are involved and you need to pay, then you've got the stress of this. I know some people that go on tour literally back to back. I don't know how. I really have full admiration for everybody that goes from literally one tour straight into another. Mentally, I couldn't do it. And it's not like financial things. The hotels, we all stay in amazing hotels. They are luxurious. They could be 4-star, 5-star. They're fantastic. But the hotel bar prices are equally amazing. So when you go at the end of the night and you're like, okay, I'm going to use my PDs, and you buy everyone around because that's what you do. And you're like, geez, that was like $200. There's only 4 of us.
Right. Where'd it go? Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's all of those financial, obviously with the mental, with all of these topics that you're now really bringing out for more awareness. I love the fact that you're doing this gig tonight with Mainlight. Mainlight is actually a sponsor of Geezers of Gear. I'm certainly, I'm certainly going to do, maybe you can, I'll check out your socials, but I'll do something this week saying how it all went. But I love that they're coming on board. So hopefully more companies will come on board because they've got hubs, they've got places, and you can go and do these, maybe it will become, not just once a month or a couple of evenings each month. Companies really will start to work with you, and, that would just be incredible. Yeah. But I wanted to ask you, so you mentioned before about the board. So who's part of ECCHO Live? So
Sure. So we have a board of directors. We have a new board of directors this year. There are 17 of them.
Oh, wow.
And they are all in we have 2 new people that are not solely industry professionals. We have, up until this year, we've only had people that are working within the industry. It's, our vice chair is Sharon Lee, who is the owner of High Road Trucking Company. And then we have Brandon Sossaman, who is with C3 Presents, and some people that work with the Production Collective and Bandit Lights and Claire Global,
Brilliant.
and then there's also audio engineers and production managers. So we have a varied board, but I think the keen thing about it is they all have this passion for the industry because they have come up in it in some capacity. So yeah, we're lucky to have that many eyes on the vision and the mission for ECCHO Live this year. And I also think a very interesting piece. I've worked with a lot of nonprofits, and as this nonprofit is solely backed by industry, like the sponsors and the partnerships and collaboration is all coming from industry. There's not. We did receive a very kind grant from CMAs, from the Country Music Association this year, to help the mental health initiatives. We were just given that the beginning of this in January. But I mean, again, it's the CMAs. They're still in our industry, but it's all backed by people that see the importance of these programmings and getting people together and supporting their mental health and their balance and their financial aptitudes, and they're putting their money where they believe it's important, and that is so encouraging. I think that that people see it and they reach out to us, and Mainlight was great. It was Chris Jones is who we've been working with here in Nashville. And he just started showing up, coming to the day offs because he wanted to know more about how to support and like who's out there and who needs to talk to him and who does he need to talk to. And it was his initiative to be like, well, let us host something. We'd love to use our space for that. So, and Rocket Cargo sponsored our one in December, and they were, so kind and generous to be able to help us partner with another nonprofit called for Nashville, for the Nashville homeless community, be able to partner and bring awareness to their organization. So there's a lot of really fun stuff percolating. It's all coming from our industry.
That is really. So as far as obviously we've had the rebranding now, is everything now is all literally ECCHO Live is live, and
ECCHO Live is live. We're
ECCHO Live is live.
New website, new colors. We're there.
Brilliant. I'll be sure to post everything about that, and when the podcast is out, I'll make sure I've got all the links to you. So if anyone needs to sort of like ask you anything. But I want to go back to a funny story that you mentioned, because I love this. You unexpectedly became a crowd warm-up for Tim and Faith's Soul to Soul. How good is that? Tell me more. Performing art coming out.
It was again, saying yes to the things that you don't know what you're saying yes to. I was the crew chief out on that tour, which meant that I spent a lot of time in the dressing rooms and interfacing with everybody, of course. But my tour manager, because it's Tim and Faith, it's Soul to Soul, it's a huge arena show. I mean, and we kept going into these markets, and the local DJs were arguing about who would get to warm up the crowd. And my tour manager, in a moment of innovation, was like, well, I'm tired of mitigating these arguments. Like, he saw me and he said, Carrie, you're good with people, right? And I said, yeah. He said, and like, you have a degree in performance, right? And I was like, yeah, I just thought it was a casual conversation. And he said, okay, great. Tonight, I'm going to need you to get out there and warm up the crowd. And I paused. I was waiting for the punchline, but I could tell that he was serious. And I was like, okay.
Oh my goodness, that would be my dream.
It was, I mean, and so I spent the rest of my summer. I'd get a call. We'd be right in the middle of, dinner service, right? Because that's when everybody is coming in and ordering, right? So I'm in the midst of everything, and I'd get a call, and I would have to drop everything, go to wardrobe. They'd take me out of my grubby clothes, put me in something sparkly, and just push me out to the stage. And I'd get like 15 minutes to basically.
What would you do?
Well, the good thing was I'd been on the ground all day long. So I was talking to locals, like, what's going on in your city right now? What are the big things? To see if I could make up something funny or give them something, to, is there a song that's popular right now for you?
Yeah.
So things like in Texas, and this one was, kind of an easy, low-hanging fruit. But I went out there and I said, her teeth are bright, his pants are tight. And then, of course, everybody in the crowd, 35,000 people. And bless them, they were very kind to me. Tim and Faith were both very sweet about this silly things that came out of my mouth. But they anytime I mentioned Tim McGraw's pants, crowd went crazy. I spoke a lot more about his pants than I think is probably right in the world, but they loved it, and it was silly, and it was all in good fun. But yeah, it was really trippy, but it was a fun way to spend the summer, and I think most of my crew got a ridiculous laugh over it because they would see me on a regular basis. And then they're like, here's Kara being the silliest thing for 15 minutes. What is wrong with her? But it's good comic relief, I suppose.
So, yeah, I mean, just really, that is just to be able to go on stage. I mean, I'd be a nervous wreck, like thinking, oh God, am I going to make anybody laugh? Or do you do a dance? Well, like, what do you do? And, and I love the fact that he was in the middle of dinner service. You get a call, you got to go now. You go, you're on stage. I don't know if you know Amber Williams. She was on the show last week, and she's the production assistant on for Alice Cooper and like the Hollywood Vampires. Works with David Davidian, lovely guy. He's just absolutely amazing. But she does similar things. So during the show, she has to dress up, and then she gets killed by something on stage, and then she runs off, and then she's back to being like her normal role. And I'm like, that's just so cool. Like really being part of the crew and the show. Like, yeah, that's really amazing. The closest thing I got to do was on Coldplay. They chucked the balloons into the crowd.
Yeah.
And that was the closest thing I ever did.
Strangely enough, I have spent more time on those very weird ancillary play pieces on stages than expected. And again, never thought that it would happen, but it sure did. Like Neil Young had he would bring the crew up on stage during one of the anthem songs for like that he would always play at like Farm Aid, so it's like we're holding in tools and instruments.
Oh, wow.
And, Jack Johnson was really good about having his crew up on stage, and we were catering, so it was like we were carrying dish mitts and towels, which in reality you're like, well, it's a strange choice, but here we are all together, better together. I don't know, but
really, like better together, but that really makes you feel part of the team. Like really, I often felt there's sometimes, a miss, I don't know what the word would be, caterers, you're just a catering, but really you get a good crew, you're all part of the team, your people will help you, people will respect that everything, that, without the fuel, you're not going to work, and that's what I love about so many of the artists that do include, the catering team to different things. I think the worst experience I ever had was actually, sadly, was in America, but we were somebody thought that we were locals, and they were so rude to us. And we had our crew basically go up to this person, and they're like, why did you talk to them like that? And they literally went, oh, they're local, it doesn't matter. He went, doesn't matter if they're local or not. You don't talk to anybody like that. And everybody had our back. The next minute, I mean, I swear, promise on my life that I had so many people, guys, are you okay? We've spoken to the person that was rude. We've done this, we've done that. Everybody had our backs, you know, and that makes it really nice. Yeah. But one thing I do really, really like about what, like, you sort of information you sent over to me is your motto for life, and that don't shrink, bloom. So what does that mean to you? And how can others use your guidance?
Sure. Thank you. I grew up on a farm, and I've spent a lot of time digging in the dirt. So I tend to have a lot of analogies about planting seeds or roots, but one thing that throughout my life consistently, I've noticed that the best growth, the most rewarding choices that I've made, I can always feel that precipice of, you're about to do something that's brave and scary. And you really only have two choices. You can either move forward into it, which is what I call blooming, or you can shrink back and just not really lean into those moments. And I've done both throughout my life, but I have noticed that each time that I bloom into a situation, that I really lean into it, that's where the most reward has been. And it's terrifying, but so rewarding. So I, in my life, I've adopted the don't shrink, bloom motto. And it really mentally, when I get to a space where I'm like, oh, I'm so terrified of what I'm doing right now, I just say it to myself, and it's always paid off. It's crazy. It doesn't always look the way that I anticipated or expected that it might. But the rewards that come are in so many different small ways that really accumulate to something bigger. And so I remind myself in those moments of that.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, you say about a seed. I always say, if I had to have an idea, so I'm just planting the seed. Okay, I'm planting the seed, and hopefully it will grow, and we'll see. And someone will say, well, what's it going to look like? I was like, I don't know yet. I've just found a seed. I'm just planting it. Just going to see where it goes. And, it's a great way to look at things. And just before, because I know we've gone over an hour now, and I know you've got an amazing gig to get to, but really, what advice would you give? Let's say, I mean, I try and say to, the new generation, young people coming in, but not just the boys and the girls, but the girls as well, what advice would you give? What experiences have you seen over the years that you feel you could say, forget about that, or just, focus on this? Yeah. What guidance would you give to young people coming into our industry?
I think the number one piece would be to ask questions, and make sure that they're your questions. There's so much information that's out there at your fingertips. You can formulate the questions that feel right for how you want to work, how you want to show up, what you want to do in this industry. So really being able to do your research and show up and ask the questions that are important to you, because there's so much out there. There's so many different ways that you can work in this industry. You got to be focused on what really speaks to you and how you want to work in this industry. And if you show up to have those conversations, make a phone call to someone that you think would never answer a phone call, or show up to a networking event where it feels practically impossible, but you do it and you do those hard pieces, and something's going to come up from it. So to me, I think it comes back to that don't shrink, bloom. But it's like, do the hard things that seem almost impossible, and you just don't know what you're going to pull back from that. And do your homework, and maybe number one is just show up. Just show up for it, because there will always be something in those opportunities that you're going to learn or get some insight from, or make a connection in a network piece that you couldn't have anticipated.
No, I completely agree. Completely. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on, and what ECCHO Live is doing is really incredible, and it's something that the industry really needs. I truly love everything, every part of it, and I always try and share as many posts and events that you've got coming up. I'll make sure to put your email address for anyone that needs to contact you. So anyone out there that has been listening to this ECCHO Live, you can go to the website, go to everything now, contact Cara, and basically be part of this amazing, incredible foundation. And that's not just for general people as such that need help, but that's for businesses. If you want to get involved, if you have space and you want to organize an event, contact Cara. I'm just throwing that out there, by the way, Cara. I don't know if that was okay.
Yeah. For sure. Yes.
But really, and spread the word. I mean, you've got a lot of people on your board. You've got a lot of connections, and it really is just a matter of just keep on spreading the word, getting the connections out, getting the connections working together. And I think you're a perfect fit for everything you're doing. So thank you, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having us. It is an honor to be able to step into this space with you, to get to know you a little bit more, but also just to be able to share. The one other piece about ECCHO Live, we gravitated to the metaphor of an echo of what you are sending out there will also come back to you in different ways. So anytime that we can connect like this, it is another echo. It is another ripple effect. So thank you so much for having us.
I love it. Thank you. And we'll be in touch by email for sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Cara. Bye.
Bye.
La 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 la, ladies, la ladies, la la la. Now here's the leading ladies by geezers of gear. On tour, maybe she got some stories to share. Now here's the leading ladies by the geezers of gear. Rock star ladies with some stories to share, because la 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 ladies, the ladies, la 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 ladies. Yeah, she's a Now here's the leading ladies by geezers of gear. Rockstar ladies with some stories to